This is an ad by BetterHelp. What's your perfect night? Maybe you're settled at home alone or with loved ones, covered in blankets, about to watch your favorite show. It's cozy, it's calm, and you're ready for a perfect night in. Therapy can feel a bit like that. A place for comfort. A time when you replenish your energy and take care of yourself. And hey, you can even do it without leaving that same cozy couch. This season is the perfect time to give therapy a try, right from the comfort of home. With BetterHelp, get matched with a tailored therapist based on your needs and preferences, entirely online. Designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a therapist, and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Find comfort this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com to learn more and save 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com. This is an ad by BetterHelp. What's your perfect night? Is it curling up on the couch for a cozy, peaceful night in? Therapy can feel a bit like that. Your comfort place where you replenish your energy. With BetterHelp, get matched with a therapist based on your needs, entirely online. It's convenient and suited to your schedule. Find comfort this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com to learn more and save 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com.
Official commencing of Kevin OConnell Tuesdays 9 to noon for X's and O's is in the air right now. Welcome back, and you're listening to KFAN, your home for Vikings football. Minnesota Vikings 14-2 at Detroit to close the regular season. Sunday night 7:20 for the Boom, 5 o'clock for the pregame show, and here's the head coach. Good morning. Are things well?
Things are well. Good morning.
Excellent. Good to see you. And you were asked this in your press conference, but I just, for those who may have missed it, and maybe you have a different answer on a Tuesday compared to a Monday, what were you thinking? What was going on through your mind Sunday after the sweep of Green Bay? Locker room, they're jumping up and down and hollering like excitable kids, then elevated your quarterback, Sam Darnold, and gave him the professional moment of his life. Like, what was in your heart at that moment?
Yeah, it was. I tried to explain it, tried to put it into words. It's PA. We get so, we get so incredibly wrapped up in the minute to minute, the time on task it takes to put together a game plan every single week, all those things. So you can lose sight sometimes of the big picture. And I just felt like my entire team and Sam and just that moment of just everybody being totally connected, it was a special moment for me. Just if fans just understood the amount of work that not only Sam but our whole team have put in this year, and really in many ways, we've had our great fan base behind us every step of the way, but in somewhat national darkness in a lot of ways, where nobody really cared about the Vikings. Nobody really cared about the work that was taking place here on a minute-to-minute, day-to-day basis. So to see that in that moment and to know we at least finished up our home schedule for the regular season 7-1, that meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me to see the reaction that Sam's teammates had for him. And then just seeing the genuine joy on his face, because when somebody works like he has and put in everything behind the scenes that he has, to experience that and really put a stamp on what was a big day for us, important day, to find ourselves where we are this week. Mm-hmm. I got caught up in the moment. I loved it. I loved everything about it.
When you're mic'd up during games,
which I do not like.
But nevertheless, you agree or acquiesce, and you were mic'd up this last game, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so when you're mic'd up during games, do you totally forget it's there late game when there's like tension?
I forget it's there after warm-ups.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing.
I really do not remember. I'm totally consumed in, what from the time I walk out for, right before our team gets introduced. You kind of got to go to a different place. I mean, there's a lot that goes into my job on game day, first and foremost as the head coach, but it's a little bit different when you are the play caller and you are, the direct line of communication into the quarterback and, You're obviously communicating with all your coaches, starting with the coordinators and Matt Daniels and Flo, throughout the game, how we're managed. I can't remember the fact that I have this microphone on, but I always remember it after the fact because it's normally the first thing. I got to get it off me before before it starts to. I start to get too comfortable with that thing on.
A lot of trust involved there, right?
Yeah, especially with the footage that is captured, because I'm sure there's plenty sitting on some hard drive somewhere that hopefully never sees the light of day.
To the game for a second, the sweep of Green Bay, and I hope you agree with this. I feel a really, really underplayed and under-discussed key to Sunday's win was putting Jaden Reed on a 1-for-6, 1 catch, 6 yards, after that 7 for 139 in 1 week 4. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, and I thought Flo and his staff did a really good job. We had talked early in the week about, a lot of their game plan would be tied to, trying to find open space in the midst of knowing we were going to try to stop the run. So one of the things that Flo and his staff did, they wanted to tighten up. They wanted to play a little bit more man coverage than we had shown, and I thought we caught him off balance with that early on in the game, and Matt and his staff did a nice job adjusting and trying to, make some second half adjustments, especially when they were in the 2-minute kind of mode there in the end, going fast, trying to come back into the football game, get back into the game. But I thought that was a huge part of it, and really make them have to make high level pitches and catches under duress in the pocket with guys attached in coverage. Thought that was a huge part of our game plan, and the guys made it to come to life for sure.
With your quarterback, Sam Darnold, for those of us who follow it closely, but obviously are not in the meetings or knowing what's expected to happen and whether it did or not, it's what's popping up late. His future and everything has been kind of a thing for a month and a half, but it's people looking to pinpoint when Sam went from a good reclamation project to just all-out Frankenstein mode. Seriously, from like that reclamation project to this monster who's just fantastic. My stab at that, somebody asked me over the weekend, is the Jacksonville game. Mm-hmm. And the 3 picks, should have been 4, but Darby's was nullified. Ronald Darby with a pick, and there was a penalty. But 3 picks there, then you go to Tennessee, and then maybe there's 1 or 2 like head scratchers in that game. Then you go to Soldier Field, and that's when the starting gate opened, and they're racing, and it was just racing from there. That Jacksonville game, do you think maybe that was a spot that, from, I don't want to say the bottom, but you look at that and then what's happened after, that was key?
Well, I think it was key for the, the duration of the whole season, because obviously Sam got off to a very good start at the beginning of the year. He was able to catch a pretty good rhythm early on in the season, and then we kind of got to a place where I think he had comfort level in the offense, but time on task and the monotony of the middle of the season starts to come into play. And are we really doing the things that we've really preached and focused on from day one? Are we really footwork, where your eye discipline, understanding, making decisions with the football, understanding he's managing the game in a lot of ways for our whole team when you play quarterback, and that's not the game manager label's been thrown around the wrong way for many, many years in this league, because you can manage a game and still throw 33 of 43 for 377 and 3 touchdowns
every week,
and that's not managing the game.
Right.
But to do that, you've got to manage the game.
Yep.
But after that Jacksonville game, which we were very fortunate to win, ran the ball 40 plus times, defense forcing turnovers in the second half, and John Parker Romo making those field goals. We won the game however we needed to.
Right.
And a lot of teams get credit for winning a lot of different ways. Normally, if we've got a win like that, what's wrong with the offense? What's wrong with Sam? Instead of,
right.
They won a game different ways. Kudos to them. That's not really how it works for some reason, which I understand as an offensive head coach. But what came out of that, PA, was a beautiful thing. Monday morning, it was like Sam was running the meeting, the quarterback meeting. Mm-hmm. As he watched the tape, it was, hey, you guys said that this is a one-hitch throw, and if I don't like it, to progress and get off of it, or hey, late in the red zone it's a second down in the red zone. Let's live to fight another down as we get later on in the down and give ourselves another shot on third down, and at the bare minimum, make sure we secure points or taking a sack in the red zone or whatever it was.
Yeah.
He was basically coaching himself at that point on the principles that we had talked about from his first day here. And I came out of that meeting, I looked at Josh and Wes and Grant, and I said, I think this guy's about to just come to life right before our very eyes, because it was the growth and the understanding and the accountability of knowing exactly how he needed to play moving forward. And we knew it was going to be a tough stretch, through the end of November into December with what we had on the schedule. But I had a ton of confidence coming out of that day, and I think that is probably 100% accurate by you to feel that way, because that was a huge moment to allow Sam, I think, to really put a stamp on this season over these last few weeks. He's just played phenomenal.
The ebbs and flows of this season have just been amazingly memorable to me for whatever it's worth. And it's like we can go back to the Cleveland joints. Okay, I mean, you're 3 minutes into it, and Addison messes up his ankle.
Yeah,
and just to see how sad he was, and everything slowed down. He's quiet in the first place. Then now you get him ready. You're at the Meadowlands or at New Jersey. Hurts his ankle, and you got some other ancillary things with him too. Okay, so now look where he is now. Look at this Darnold situation. Sam was not bad, and you can win the division or get to the postseason probably with the way he was playing at that. But from that moment on. And what has come out of it, it's bearing fruit, and the fruit is juicy and good. Okay, so now Sam pushes through that. Okay, now you got Jefferson to Soldier Field with 2 catches. You win the game, 2 catches, has a big 20 in overtime, but now he's like, just this vice. You're talking about it in here. It's like you said, just imagine an NBA game, and you got the best player in the NBA, and he's triple teamed every single time. The coach trying to figure out how to get around it, that ain't fun. And the guy who's getting tripled, that ain't fun. And you push through that. It's just the ebbs and flows offensively and really for the whole team. Well, the kicker, too. Then Parker Romo comes here and only misses 1 time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been terrific.
I think the big thing that I know I've referenced with a lot of those individual players throughout the ebbs and flows, as you call it, it's accurate, but it's a long season.
Right.
1 drive, 1 quarter, 1 game. Over the course of the long season, I tell, we have a lot of internal dialogue just about overall, production, who's doing what, are we getting guys touches, and what's it look like? And we always tend to overreact to this sequence of 2 or 3 games or that sequence here. I just know we're, not that far off when it's all said and done. Justin could be near 1,600 yards receiving. Jordan could be up and over 1,000 with 10 total touchdowns, a piece for both those guys. Aaron Jones is going to end up, over 1,500 yards all-purpose, more than likely. And then here comes Jalen Naylor, T.J. Hawkinson, Josh Oliver, Johnny Munt, all finding the end zone, Cam Akers. So it's, from a standpoint of production, the way our system is built, it all starts with Justin Jefferson, but we've tried to build a system here, PA, where a lot of guys are going to have the ability to impact the game over the course of 17. That makes us hard to defend. It makes us incredibly versatile, and most importantly, makes us be in a prime position to play our best football in the month of December on into January here.
Good for Jalen Naylor. Doing those simulcasts, the radio and TV in the preseason, getting the privilege, and it's a privilege. And I hope the TV people look at it like this, because I miss them. Having those production meetings with you before the games, man. Now, granted, we're talking about Jay Sean Jones and why Dwight McLeathern's nickname is Nudie, and we're talking about different things now with different players. But just to know the amount of time that you've put in with Jalen Naylor, how fond you are of him. Now we're in L.A., drops 1 at the 7, bad drop. Might have won the game if he doesn't drop it. We had the muff punt. So he's pushed through things this year, all the while 6 touchdowns, and the first one in the sweep of the Green Bay Packers Sunday night. And the building was electric the entire night. But after that first touchdown, wow, I felt so good for Jalen.
Yeah, this whole year. I mean, you think about his journey. You think about, there's been so many times where you probably left a training camp practice or an off-season practice, whatever it is, saying, man, this Jalen Naylor guy can really play. And we felt the same way really from day one. There was a reason why we identified him as a guy we wanted to go get. Looking at the big picture of our receiver room, not only at the time, but what it looks like moving forward. We add Jordan Addison to that mix. We've got two, we call them our junkyard dogs in Trent Sherfield and Brandon Powell that do a lot of different jobs for us. But Speedy really has been a guy that I always knew in the moment, even those times like the LA player, the Titans deep ball that might put us at 30 and end that whole day altogether. We found ways to make those growth moments and learnable, teachable moments, because every single time there's always a backstop of belief, understanding that you're talented, you're going to make those plays, and you got to be ready when your number's called. Because of how we're defended, PA, we can't always dictate exactly where the football is going to be able to go. We've got to build plans that have answers versus just about everything, all in the confines of making sure we make it user-friendly for our quarterback. So with that, you got to have some personal responsibility by those eligibles, whether it's tight ends or receivers or running backs, to be where they're supposed to be, and you never quite know. If I say the saying, all 5 eligibles are going to come to life one more time to our offensive group, they better believe me, because I think it's proved it over the course of this 17 games, and it's been a huge part of why we've been pretty balanced for the most part. We've run the ball a little bit more this year. We've gotten some really, really good protection as of late. I thought our O-line protected great on Sunday night, and that's kind of what I've been hinting to when I've said for our offense to be at our best, we're really fine-tuning and really coming into our own now that we've got the full group healthy, minus, Christian Darrisaw, which is a massive thing. But, we really feel rhythm and timing coming into play with a lot of moving parts this year while still being successful for the most part. So I'm really proud of that. But it's time to go. It's time to play our best ball, and we need it. We need it this week.
If Sunday to win the division, and get the 1 seed, but you keep saying win the division, and not like win the 1 seed in some of your press conferences. Yeah, I don't know if that's intentional or not, but because if you look at like what we start with, what you with your team start with, okay, let's do this. Let's win the division. So that's the next one. Win the division.
Yep.
And maybe not clouding minds with, truly but everybody knows that the 1 seed's at stake. If this were to be a super close game, a 1-score game on Sunday night, would you be surprised?
No.
I wouldn't either. And here's the point. Are you familiar with, a gentleman named Guy Chamberlain?
I've only become familiar as of recent conversations.
Okay.
But I consider myself somewhat, maybe not like yourself, but I do consider myself somewhat of a football fan, and I've learned a lot about the game and our great history of our game over the years. I did not know much about Guy.
Yeah, I think it's 1922 that he might have done this. So I talked to your dad about him, Bill, on the sideline before the game. He's like, Tommy Dorsey had an album out that time, and it was super popular, and Guy Chamberlain never lost those 1-score games, see? Okay, so HOF coach from the 20s, and the only coach with a better winning percentage than Kevin OConnell in 1-score games, all right? With at least 25 games coached, Kevin's heading into his 52nd Sunday night. Good players matter. Of course, we know that. But isn't that mark also born of coaches having been in it here with deeply rooted ownership in this product for almost 3 years now?
Yeah, for sure. And I think part of winning a lot of different ways and having comfort doing that is being a little bit more complimentary as a team. And that's not always just all, pistons firing, every phase of your team is just rolling everybody. I mean, we played a playoff caliber team, a really good Green Bay Packer team the other night, and I know fans looking up there seeing the score 20-3, hey, this should be, okay, let's multiply how much time's left with what the lead is right now. Okay, this should be a 37-6 type of win.
Yeah.
That's not how our league works.
Right.
I mean, we were aggressive throughout that game. Everybody wants to talk about the ending of that game when we were aggressive, but we were aggressive on the previous drive. To the drive starter, PA, I mean, we're attempting to blow the roof off the place with that play, and they get a little pressure, and you're talking milliseconds from the game being over on that 1st and 10. Justin Jefferson with a ton of grass to run through, through the middle of the defense if we can get that ball thrown that Sam was trying to throw. But that's an aggressive call with the momentum shifting the other way. But I don't really look at it like that as much as I'm trying to put our guys in position to have success, whatever phase we're in, whether it's flow, whether it's Matt Daniels in the kicking game. We're trying to give our guys, every time they go out there, P and 10 for the start of a drive, we're trying to tip the scales in our guys' favor. And whatever that means, we're going to do it. We're going to try to continue to coach this team in a way where they have confidence, But it does go back to that ownership. We talk about situations a lot.
Yes.
We talk about what situation is this to close out a game, and they're not all the same. A lot of them require attention to detail that you've got to be willing to build within your team for months and months and months, and as you said, years in a lot of ways.
Yes.
To build up a fabric of who you are. And we've won those games. We've won a lot of them, and I just know the feeling I have in those moments because of our players, because of our coaches. I feel very confident we're going to win those games. And to be 100% honest, I'm somewhat shocked if we don't, just because of the belief I have in everyone.
Well, and this is born of one of our very first radio/Vikings.com related conversations early in the 2022 year. Your first season head coach here. We're talking about red zone offense. You're going through collaboration and what goes into this recipe. You're talking about tight ends coach Brian Angelico, like this red zone savant. Well, I can't say I've ever heard that before. And it's not like a tight ends coach, running backs coach, whatever, doesn't have the right to come up with great philosophies or great ideas. But that, I just never forgot that. And when you do as well as you guys do in one-score games, 9-1 this year, we know which one the one was, and we'll talk about them in a minute. And it's a collaborative effort, and it doesn't have to be the bang your fist down. And I'm sure it has to be sometimes as a leader. Probably got to bang your fist sometimes and say, I understand. We're doing it this way. But that's not how you explain a lot of things with these coaches. And to have that mark where it is, the collaboration, offensively speaking, defensively too, I would imagine, is imperative. Let's wrap it up with the Lions. Did you watch the game last night, or do you wait for the all-22?
No, it's actually one of my favorite things to do. I kind of build some cut-ups of the opponent, and then if they're playing, I have that on too.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times you don't see enough on those TV copies to really use that as true film study. But when you're pairing that with, watching some of the tight copy replays, or you see certain techniques and fundamentals of the front, or you might see a pressure that you just watched a couple clips before on your cut-ups, and then you're kind of just taking stock of it, seeing how San Francisco was playing them, things they were trying to do, personnel groupings they were in. So it's work time, but at the same time, you're getting a front row seat watching your opponent in a live fashion play out a very competitive, physical game like they did, and you've got to be using that time to your benefit, because when I was already at my desk this morning when I believe their plane was landing local there, so that's got to be an advantage for us. But knowing Dan and his staff and how the way they've built that thing, that cannot be anything more than just a simple message to the players that, hey, this is what happened. They played Monday night. You guys know that. But we got to have a heck of a week of preparation, because we know they're going to. And these are going to be two really, really good football teams playing PA, and it's going to be a flat-out battle. But
blew me away. I think he only did it once, maybe twice, when they went with 7 offensive linemen inside the 10. I mean, they got Dan Skipper, 70. I mean, he's extra unbalanced, beef-eater guy. But then they brought in this Boston College rookie, Meadow or something like that, both on the left of Decker. Of course, they ran behind it. Of course, it worked. Didn't get in, got close. But they with the Lions and doing things like that, they do it trying to become effective with it, undoubtedly, and of course they scored on a hook and ladder. But do you notice that they do things sometimes to have you think that they're going to do things moving forward, then they never do it? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean the true foundation of what
everybody does that, right?
Well, really, what they do there is really predicated on a lot of the things that have been born through their time together, and their being him and Jared, and a lot of which, a lot of the foundation of what they do comes from a place of some of the things Jared did early in his career, and things look familiar to me in many ways. But I think what Ben does a great job of is really utilizing their great personnel in multiple ways. Maybe that is extra linemen. Maybe that is, when they were healthy, both those running backs on the field at the same time. What does Jamison Williams do well? They've got one of the best separators in football in Amon-Ra that works the middle of the field as well as anybody. And then Laporte is an ultimate challenge, because he's a really well-rounded, high-level football player. And they got one of the best O-lines, if not the best, in football. So what Ben's able to do is a lot of things look the same. A lot of things put you in a real bind. A lot of things attack individual aspects of your coverages or your front structures, and it's over and over and over again. You got to play really well. You got to be really sound with your techniques and fundamentals. And then this game, fans have heard me say it a lot this year, but this game's going to come down to play style. You're going to have to individually win, and your individual matchups. And doing that is not just words here in the radio station room this morning. That takes that takes a level of want to and desire that both teams are going to be putting out there on a snap in, snap out basis. I think it's going to be a phenomenal football game, and we're certainly going to put together a week of prep to go win this thing.
They can score, and they're the highest scoring team in the game, and they can score, and I'm sure they will score some touchdowns Sunday. But how great is it? And in the pregame up to the Packers game, we talked about health, and we talked about your training staff and your performance team, and Josh Hengst and his staff. The fact that you're able to come into this thing with at least 11, 12, maybe 13 preferred defensive guys. That then you have Cashman and Pace together, which you did not have first time you played them. That's fantastic. Win or lose, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think we. So much, for fans that didn't hear it, what we talked about in the pregame was the names and faces of people that some Vikings fans may never know, may never see. They're incredibly impactful to what we do because it's about the player in this building. It's about putting them in the best positions to have success. It's about making them fall in love with the idea of being a Minnesota Viking and can't wait to come back tomorrow to do it again and again and again. And we'll see where that gets us this year. But we got something that I'm very, very proud of in that locker room, and I know our players are too. And we've just been so thankful and fortunate, PA, for our fans and what U.S. Bank Stadium has been this year to us. And we're trying like crazy to make sure we have not played our last game there.
All right, last one, I promise. First time in what will be Kevin's 52nd, I'm excited, 52nd game here, that you'll be in an arena where it's super loud, and everybody's against you with a lot on the line.
Yep.
You faced it. Seattle was loud. They were against you. But there's a lot on the line in this one. If you're able to compartmentalize what your preach is to the guys this week, like what your common thread preaches up to a moment like this, what would it be?
Yeah, I think, as I kind of work through what that'll look like later in the week, I think a huge part of it is I don't think for the journey of our team this year, I don't think there's any other way I would want this thing to close out before we start the next phase that we've earned the right to be a part of, being the postseason tournament. But there's no better way for our team. The journey that we've been on from day one, talk about the win projections and, hey, this team might have the first pick in the draft. And it felt at times like we were the only ones that believed in what we were doing early on. So why not finish this thing off in a place where the entire building, the entire city, the entire aspect from the time you get off the plane when we land in Detroit to the time we hopefully get back on victorious is going to be about us and only us. And there's no better way to finish it off than to go do this together, and that's what we're going to go try to do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, PA.
Kevin OConnell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm Paul Allen. That's X's and O's, and we're back after this.
Yeah, but
Vikes Bites, 3-2.
Vikes Bites is brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. And you can shop online by going to thousandhillslifetimegrazed.com, and you can get a box of meat. It shows up on your doorstep. Otherwise, you can go to your local Coburns and your local co-op locations. Now, into Week 18, terrific conversation once again with Kevin OConnell. You'll be able to hear it in its entirety tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Tomorrow evening is part of a New Year's Day festival, but you'll be able to hear it weekly as you do Wednesdays. Terrific work with the host and, of course, the head coach. But into Week 18, one conversation that emanated out of the border battle on Sunday, PA, is once again the disciplined nature of this team from a penalty standpoint. And I've hit you with this a couple times throughout the year. And ultimately in the border battle, people were nitpicking. There's the flag on Byron Murphy at one point. Then you get Keyshawn Nixon on the flag on Justin Jefferson. Was it uncatchable in the moment? So typical border battle fodder on a 129 in a game as close as it was. But your level and just kind of as you've watched it, we can go after Cam Robinson a bit with these home-related penalties the last couple of home games. But overall, the disciplined nature of this team from a penalty standpoint has been an absolute feather in the team's cap and the coach's cap as they look ahead to the Kitties on Sunday.
No doubt. And in fact, if you look at the difference in yardage earned from penalties, the penalties the adversary takes compared to the penalties the Vikings take, the Vikings are plus 100 some odd yards over the course of the year. And some of those penalties, like you mentioned, Jefferson, have been 28, 37, maybe a 41 yard penalty on pass interference being a spot foul. So it's kind of like what we tried to convey with the head coach right there in that from that Jacksonville game with those 3 interceptions.
Yep.
To where we are now. It's Jefferson is coming up with chunk plays. Addison at times will steal the show. Hawkinson had some show steal to him last game when they played zone defense. Hawkinson, and that's just another wonderful facet of Sam Darnold is that is Hafley and or Green Bay, they'll feign man defense, and then they'll settle into a zone, and he'll scan the field and he'll find zone beaters like tight ends, Hawkinson. So when Hawkinson has reception after reception after reception, generally speaking, that's because the defense is playing zone defense. But then under the cover of darkness, you get Jalen Naylor, or like when you're at LA trying to beat the Rams, Josh Oliver. They're firing on all cylinders right now, and a lot of it has to do because of the lack of penalties, lack of pre-snap penalties, which haven't really transpired until, like you mentioned, Cam Robinson, he had 1 holding and 1 false start in the most recent game.
I'm going to include 2 things at the same time in this Vikes Bite, brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. And first, it's going to be Ivan Pace, his return to the mix this weekend. You and Ben early on talking about kind of some of the high IQ players on defense. That second segment with Ben Gessling was terrific. But I want to get your vibe in terms of, any physical, any moments in which you're like, wow, it's so good to have IP back. You hold the Packers to 100 yards rushing. They get to triple digits, but we know how impactful that run game is for them. And the moments in which the Vikings defense really got them out of their ability to just mash on us. But now I'm watching the Lions, PA, where, the idea of, well, they don't have David Montgomery, excuse me. They don't have Montgomery in the mix. Well, no big deal. They've just run for $146 and $152 the last 2 weeks, including last night against the Niners. And there's been some rumblings. I think maybe there's some gamesmanship in terms of, could Montgomery be back this week, or could he be back potentially at some point during the postseason? Alex Anzalone's name's been thrown out more from a postseason standpoint as well, recovering, I believe it was a broken forearm he had. But stopping Gibbs, whether it's last night, maybe the week before against the Bears, they really haven't had a hard time getting Gibbs going at any time. So the Sonic and Knuckles, or whatever that duo has looked like, and we saw it at a high level throughout the season, it doesn't seem like they've lost too much without Montgomery, at least as of now.
That's an excellent point, and I did not know that about David Montgomery. In fact, when I looked at the Lions inactives last night, about 20 minutes before the game, Montgomery was on the list.
Yeah, and
I'm like, damn, really? He's not in the short-term IR or whatever. That was eye-opening, and you just kind of landed the plane on that. I mean, Campbell. It may be all hands on deck with Montgomery potentially returning here. I'm glad you put me on that. But with Gibbs, let's just put it this way. I believe into the Packers game with Jordan Love, I believe there was an under-discussed, not shared topic the Vikings defense had with Love. And if you break down the metrics, the analytics of it, when Jordan Love gets out to the right, he's a high, the way it was explained to me, it wasn't just said one time, it was said 3 times. He is a high percentage performer when he gets out to his right. When he gets to his left, when he goes to his left, not so much. All right. So if you watch back the game, you'll notice Jordan didn't get out to his right a lot, and it worked. I wonder what that is with Gibbs. And I'm going to put Montgomery out of the equation until, he either DNPs in practice or gets limited. He's unbelievable. I mean, he's just, it's every time I watch him, there's something different about him with his stop and go and his ability to catch as a calling card. He's super fast. His vision is obviously unbelievable with some of these cuts he makes. He's a handful, man. Just what a wonderful football player.
I got one more Vike Bite for you here, and then I think we're going to do a little New Year's Eve celebration in the final segment as we put a wrap on this thing. Vike Bite, TJ Hawkinson related. Mm-hmm. We didn't have TJ Hawkinson during that first matchup, and for the most part, TJ, from a total offensive standpoint, maybe if you're thinking just strictly from a fantasy perspective, TJ Hawkinson has not blown up the stat sheets since returning from injury. Now, when he's been back, Jordan Addison, we've seen this massive lift there. Justin Jefferson has double-digit touchdowns. It feels like watching this thing that everything kind of looks the way it's supposed to. Do you factor in Hawkinson's involvement week 18 versus earlier this season? You think having TJ in the mix? I'm not even. Frankly, I don't care about this question. I don't care about the former team thing. I just think about TJ and us having all our dogs on Sunday.
I love this question, O'Connell. Like I've shared with you before, if you listen closely enough to Kevin's answers, he's going to give you the keys to the question if you just know what you're looking for. And when discussing Jefferson and Addison, not even into the Lions part of X's and O's, he said, well, the Lions want to play a lot of man, okay? Which means now you got, okay, so what are we going to have here? If you're going to play man, that means safety's not helping with double coverage. Are we going to have Terrion Arnold one-on-one with Jordan Addison? Are we really going to put Amik Robertson on Justin Jefferson? Are we really going to use Kendall Vildor out of the slot against Jalen Naylor? That's not happening. So if it does, good luck. So now, next layer. Their safeties play like corners. Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. Brian Branch did a lot of nickel coverage last night, and it was okay. He's not a corner. He's a converted corner, but he's a safety. Well, they're going to use him in a lot of corner-related situations. So now, what does that leave for Hawkinson? What it leaves, in my estimation, is them, if they use their safeties to help with Jefferson and Addison, which I believe they're going to have to do, and focus on the running game. Trevor Nowaski and Ben Neiman, one-on-one with TJ Hawkinson. I mean, I throw to that thing every single time I see it, and I make TJ make plays because they can't keep up with him. Those two cannot keep up with him. Jack Campbell maybe can, but he may have responsibilities. He's not great in pass coverage anyway. So that the Hawkinson piece in this game is fascinating because of the aggressive, cocksure nature of the Lions defense, no matter which players they have out there, which means TJ's going to get the singles more than any skill position player the Vikings have. And the kiddies need to pay.
I dig that. That's Vikes Bites, brought to you by Thousand Hills, PA.
Yep, and we ring in the new year with a Nordo parody we played in the opening segment. It's fantastic, and we wish all of you a happy new year, 9 to noon style, after this. Welcome back, and happy new year.
Dear Skull, we seek to exorcise all the ghosts of moments past, missed kicks and bad picks, sad demise. Nothing gold could truly last. Could one whole season be for naught, based on just a single be bought as to see the lions tamed. Can we stop an offense, striking fear in our hearts and all sane minds? Perhaps the better question here, can their injured bunch stop thine? Great coaching defines excellence. We have ours and they have theirs. O'Connell's plan, shall it commence? Aaron Glenn will need your prayers. Picture Sam to Jefferson in the slot. Addison, well, he's popping tags, while fans at Ford Field taking shots wish they still wore their paper bags. But surely times they haven't changed. These are not the same old lions, but the sounds of cheers in solemn vein as Motown goes home crying. Two teams with visions of the ring, few more apt or more adroit, but if only for 1 week we sing pound sand to all of Detroit.
Happy New Year, Love Covenant dwellers. On behalf of Eric Nordquist, yours truly, Paul Allen, and all of us at FM 100.3 KFAN, have a blessed, safe, and smart New Year's Eve and a wonderful 2025. Chat with you soon on KFAN.
You wake up, put on your Ray-Ban Meta glasses. You're living all in. You realize you need coffee. So you say,
Hey, Meta, how do I make a latte?
Brew 2 shots of espresso.
after Meta AI gets you caffeinated, you're ready for some beats.
Hey, Meta, play hip-hop music.
You head to meet some friends, but can't remember the place.
Hey, Meta, call Eva.
Ray-Ban Meta glasses, the next generation of AI glasses. Just say, hey, Meta, to harness the power of Meta AI. Shop now at meta.com/smartglasses.